Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. Hello, my friends. Here in Europe it's getting cold again, but here it's getting hotter and hotter. You're really in the summer now. Here. So this time the recording is on again. And because the last time it was not recorded, and it's a subject that comes again and again to the mind of, especially of people who have been busy with Advaita. And coming back to the question Heidi has asked, that because many times I'm saying the self is projecting aspects into this world, into this magic show to gain experience. But why, the question is, why would the self want experience? The thing is, we have to remember that teachings are teachings. Teachings are pointers. Pointers to a mystery of existence that can never be really fully explained. And we say that beingness, Brahman, the self, God, is absolute, is perfect. We're using all these words, we're having ideas about it, but we just put it in such a way for the mind that we see the relative, the imperfect, the ephemeral, that which is changing all the time. And so we name the opposite. What you are essentially is what you are. And it doesn't change. And if something doesn't change, then the words perfect or imperfect, they don't mean anything anymore. As soon as we start talk about perfect, complete, then we imply the imperfect, the incomplete. Now, the self is projecting into this magic show to gain experience. It's not because of a sense of not being complete, of being incomplete. It's simply natural, a natural, positive, creative curiosity of existence to experience itself in ever new ways. In course of the process, to expand the experience. Staying the same essentially, and yet the experience is expanding. We can't really get it with the mind. It's not something that we really can totally understand, and yet we can point to it. You are that divine being, essentially remaining the same, and yet the experience is continuously evolving. And projecting into this magic show is one way of boosting that evolvement, of growing, of expanding. The two traditional teachings the one that says everything is one, nothing ever really happens, nothing changes. This is just a momentary appearance. It doesn't make any sense. It comes, it goes, it always remains the same. And the other teaching that says, yes, but there are beings and they keep on evolving continuously. The two teachings are not really contradictions. They are simultaneously true. They are pointing out a different aspect of this mystery. Simultaneously, essentially, there is no change. And the experience of that changeless mystery keeps on expanding, evolving continuously. And when we are here in this world, consciousness connected to a physical body, that continuous confrontation of the limitations that come along with it, that continuous confrontation with pleasant, unpleasant, like, I don't like, attraction and repulsion, and all the dynamics that come along with it is something that makes this experience of the self unfold enormously. We may not be aware as long as we are identifying with the person, with the projection. We may not have an idea what is really happening all the time, but still on a subtle level it keeps on unfolding and expanding, and the point will come within this life or not within this life. The point will come where that awareness comes. What has really happened here? How much we have been enriching that essential experience of reality simply by being alive. As long as we are doing it half asleep, just being pushed by whatever comes along, it's most of the time a painful business and it's very slow. The more we take the trouble to bring the attention to the present and be awake and be alert, the more potential is every moment, the greater the intensity of this human experience. And we can gain 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 times from a lifetime that stays with that being when that lifetime is over. If we are awake, if we consciously go through it, instead of just being half asleep and being just pushed along, swept along by the current of events. On top of that, the suffering disappears. If you are here now, living consciously, living intensely in touch with that reality, then the suffering disappears. Sometimes it's still unpleasant, sometimes it's pleasant. But that mental anguish that we are creating, as long as we are totally identified with that projection, with that personality, is not more there. That mental anguish that we call suffering. The mental anguish that comes out of the identification and then invariably continuously resisting, because there are always things that we don't like. Even when things are fine, there's always that little nagging thing. What I'm trying to do is to explain something that cannot be explained. But through this explanation, you give a pointer that can help the heart to open and somehow not understand, but sometimes feel the reality of it, and that can be very helpful, that after that we accept, okay, the whole damn story may make sense. No point of resisting all the time. Let's go through it playfully, joyously. There are a number of modern teachers that they say this whole creation is just an accident. It's an incident that somehow happens. There is no point in it. There is no purpose in it. But there is a point in it. There is a purpose. Last time I told that story, that once I confronted Amma and said, no, it doesn't make sense, the whole thing. And she said, yes, there is a purpose in creation. And it took a few more years until I could say, yes, I understand. She was right. The whole thing makes sense. There is a purpose to it. The more we can somehow accept it, the less we are always creating resistance that creates pain. The more we become capable of accepting circumstances as they are, not in a weak way, not in a beaten way, not in a way that, oh, I cannot do anything, things are the way they are. No, as an expression of strength. There's no point in resisting, in battling against facts. But then, on the relative level, we still can put our creative beauty into it. And many times we may change the circumstances doing so. And many times we may not be able. But still, the very attempt of bringing something positive into it is already uplifting, makes the life joyous, even if the situation is not a joyous one. All right, I leave this subject now. And I come to a question Marie has asked. She says, often in the morning she wakes up feeling heavy and regretting. First, she was identifying it with
Werner?
Yes?
Werner?
Yes?
Can you ask Karina to mute her microphone because it makes noises in the background?
Okay.
Or maybe she heard me now.
Who is that? Who is making noise? I don't hear any noises.
Karina, I hear it here. I can hear. Yeah, Karina, her name.
It hasn't come
she
here.
Can mute
but
her.
okay, Karina,
okay.
Can you mute the microphone? Somehow it hasn't interfered here. Oh,
okay,
she
thank
did.
you. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
All right. So then I'm coming to the question of Marie. Marie, who makes all these clips of past satsangs. Then when she investigated a bit more, she saw it's not necessarily regret. It's just the heaviness that is there in the morning, and then it can attach itself to anything, to the idea of any mundane task that is going to be there that day. That she thinks of something to do and it looks heavy. Whatever goes through the mind, that heaviness can attach itself. What to do about that heaviness? She asked also that actually sometimes she used to do a rosary because somehow that came natural from her Catholic upbringing. and it helped, but nowadays she's not doing better. It's better to just observe it. Actually, it doesn't matter how we are going about it. It's not that one way is the better or the other. Her last question was, is prayer, can prayer help? Yes, prayer also can help. I would recommend that already when going to sleep, very consciously, just stop thinking all that has happened during the day and what is going to happen tomorrow. If you have to do that, do it for some time and then let it go, and then just be here now. Connect with yourself, connect with pure light, with lightness, and send the beam into the future for when you wake up. If you go to sleep like this, already there is a good possibility that that heaviness is not there in the morning when you wake up, or maybe much less. And then when you become aware in the morning, you wake up and that heaviness is there, fully, partially, then when you remember, okay, I can do something about it. I need not take the thoughts that come up and connect with that heaviness serious. And I don't have to follow them. Just bring the attention to the now and feel what it is really doing right now. And then if it helps you to pray, pray. If it helps you to do a rosary, do a rosary. If it helps you, you can just observe it and redirect the attention to the breathing. Consciously, breathe in, breathe out, and feel lighter with every breath. You find out for yourself what helps. It's not if anything helps, that you have to question yourself whether it's the right thing to do. If it works, that's fine. That you come out of it. That you don't have to carry that heaviness for a long time with you every morning. It may really easily go, just really put the attention on it. Consciously breathe, and with every breath that you feel, you breathe out. Let it flow out of you. And with every breath, you may feel lighter. If you want to pray, want to ask for help in it, it's nothing wrong with it. If that comes natural and spontaneous, perfectly all right. Or mantra. You said you do a rosary, it's basically like mantra japa. You can also just completely repeat the mantra or do a rosary. At the same time, still watch that heaviness and feel lighter and lighter and relax and let it just evaporate. Okay, I wish you well with it, Marie. I dropped this subject also. Now I'm asking you, is there anybody who would like to come in? Please come. Different messages. Let's see.
Hari Om, Werner.
Hari Om. Maria.
Hi.
This is Maria, and the other was Marie.
Marie, yes. And I also come from a Catholic background, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, It's kind of common question. It's very interesting the way you started today, the satsang, because this topic of attraction and repulsion is what that you mentioned as part of the play. Is a question I had right after the last satsang. I had a very interesting moment, I think it was Tuesday morning at home, when I was reflecting on desires, on how my peace gets disturbed often by strong desires, because I want this desperately, yes. Or I don't want it desperately. So there is that, desires. And then I came across a quote from the Bhagavad Gita where if I understand correctly, also Krishna says happiness requires that you really reduce your desires. Somehow there was something about that. And I thought, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then it was like everything clicked at that point in time. And I felt again that the key for me, for my happiness, is to trust God. To trust that anything I need is here now. Yes. That I'm saying he, but we know it's he, she, everything.
Yes.
Takes care. That is not possible. I'm a strong believer in cosmic order. So it makes sense to me that if God is God, then everything is in order.
Yeah.
How could there be chance? I don't believe at all in chance. Now, the kind of order that I'm talking about, we cannot comprehend it with the human mind. Is so complex, so big. So it was this feeling of, okay, again, I come back to the feeling that I need to trust God more. If I want to be happy, I need to trust that everything I need is in place, and that I need to engage with it. I need to engage with life. My teacher used to have 3 words that I feel are extremely wise, which is active, positive, and creative. To be active, positive, and creative in life.
Yeah.
And that works well. But it's just kind of commenting because it's interesting that you are mentioning it. And I feel that this aspect of trust is, for me, is the fundamental one. When that is not there, then is when I go into desperation, because then I feel I need to control the situation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to comment a bit on that. This is like the big topic, and that came connected with what you were saying.
Right. You're perfectly right. If you can have trust, then everything becomes easier. It doesn't really mean whether you have trust in God or whether you have trust in yourself, or whether you have disciples have trust in their guru, and it comes to the same, trust in yourself or trust in the guru or trust in God. But as long as we are always wondering whether it's right or wrong, whether I'm doing right or wrong, then we are always ruled by desires and fears. Fears what could happen and try to prevent it. Desires that we think we have to have things in order to feel happier, to feel complete. It's not that we have to desperately try to root out every damn little desire that is there. It's just part of life. Desires spring up and we may fulfill them, we may not fulfill them. But what is wrong is that we identify our well-being with fulfilling desire. The happiness is not coming from that. The happiness is coming from ourselves. It's always there if we don't stand in the way. And with that trust in God, you are relaxing. You are not more afraid all the time and in tension what's going to happen. Then you can say, okay, I trust. that things are working out the way they should work out, and then a whole big topic that is most of the time in people's mind falls away. Because then we don't have to always worry, should I do this tomorrow, should I do that? There's nothing wrong with practically planning something, but that is no big deal. We can be in the present, trust in God, and then think practically, okay, that and that I could do, and then drop the topic. It's not something that creates restlessness. What creates restlessness is always the fear. Can I do it? Am I going to be successful? What are the others going to think about it? all these things that are so heavy after that to carry along. And if you have the trust in God, then okay, this and this and this I can do, and then you drop it, and then it will be God's will how it turns out, how well it turns out. And with desires the same, you can see the desires when it springs up. If it's immediately possible to fulfill it, you can fulfill it and observe the process, and then it's coming, going, it doesn't leave a trace. If it's a desire projected in the future, then learn to bring the attention away from the object of desire and simply see what the desire in itself does to you right now, how it creates tensions. And then you can start to relax. And if somehow you have the feeling, but somehow it's part of my story that this and this should come about, you still can give your intent in the current of life, of happenings, but then not hang on to it and think I have to have it and I need it and it must be, and be all tense and restless without it. But you can give that intent into it and then leave it up to God whether it's working out or not, and be here and now and relaxed. So you're right, trust. It's not anything moral. It's something extremely practical that we can learn to give away the burden that we are unnecessarily carrying along. Ramana Maharshi used the picture that he said to somebody, you are like a man who goes in a train with a heavy basket and you still keep it on your head the whole way, instead that you just put it down and it comes with you anyhow. So you don't have to carry all that burden all the time. The train will take it the whole way. And like that, we can take that burden of, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it, I want this, I want it. We can put all that burden down with trusting the universe, trusting God, that things are working out the way they should work out. And sometimes it's according to our liking, and sometimes it's not according to our liking. And then we can have trust, okay, it seems that the confrontation with the unpleasant situation is really what helps me to go deeper. That I'm here for that, to learn, to grow, to outgrow all this, and not to hope that I can make every moment as pleasant as possible.
I feel that this is the point where I'm making the point of change now for me, is the going from looking for pleasure to understanding and embracing more that actually when there is pain, it can take you very deep,
right,
and to a good place actually. And connected to this, and something you mentioned before about fear, I've been observing a lot throughout the last few years when they come up. And it seems to be that two seem to be the critical ones that I find are the fear of death, the fear of non-survival, which comes through in all sorts of subtle ways, and the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
So the social fear. And it seems to be that the more I look, the more I find these two to be the ones that seem to drive fear.
Yeah. correct. Actually, all the fears, in a way, are connected with the fear of death. Even the fear of rejection is also like, if I'm not being accepted, it's like I'm dying. it's like I have no value, me, the personality. And the fear of death is coming out of the identification with this personality that we think we are, that needs to be secure and is afraid of the fact that invariably, one day or another, this story is over. And then what? So we are very well advised to learn to, in the present, connect with that which makes the experience possible and loosen up that identification with the role that we are playing. And then parallel to that loosening up, the fear of dying is also getting less. And at the end, it's simply not more there.
Yeah. And the identification with the body, isn't it? Because it's the, I mean, when I feel about the fear of death, often at some point it comes like, oh, if the body gets cold or the body doesn't get the food, or, you know, that seems to be, yeah.
Right, of course, it's very much connected. The body and the idea of the personality, they are so closely interwoven that they are the same chapter.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Werner. Very, very helpful indeed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to talk? You're welcome to come in. Okay, let's stay for a moment longer with that subject. Desires and fears. It's really these two motivating forces for the personality. On one hand, feeling incomplete, so I need things in order to be happy. On the other hand, fear of change, fear of losing something, thinking that whatever keeps me together, whatever makes me happy, even if it's not very much of happiness, still there is something. If that disappears, then that also is gone. Then what's left? Everybody has those desires and fears. It's good to become aware how much they are ruling our life and learn to confront them, learn to observe them. Then they are losing their power. They are mainly becoming so strong and powerful because we are not even aware most of the time how strong the desires are and how strong the fears are. The mind dwells on it, turns around it, and chews it over, and we are still not really aware what's going on. Bring the attention to the present. See what is happening right now. Become aware of the thoughts. What kind of nonsense goes through the mind all the time. And learn not to take it so serious anymore, so important. Our reality, the way we are experiencing it, is so solid, seems to be so real because we think of it all the time. If we learn to think less, we learn to connect the present with that source that makes the experience possible, then also that reality becomes more and more transparent. It doesn't seem so real anymore. It may be there as an appearance. At the same time, that feeling that I am sort of a victim in the midst of this show disappears. Then it's a playful show where I'm playing a role. Being aware something cannot touch you. The more that awareness grows, the less power these two motivating forces of the personality have, the desires and the fears. It's not that we have to control them with force. If we try to do that, most of the time it's being suppressed in the subconscious. It's still boiling there, and as soon as it has a possibility, boop, it comes up again. Accept that they are there, be aware that they are there, and then see what they are doing to my experience right now. Start on the easiest level, physically. What is this fear doing right now? Observe how the body is having the tendency to get all tense, how certain parts are getting all cramped, how the feeling of well-being is obscured, somehow it seems to go away. And by observing, you are already detaching, and from that more detached position, it's possible to start to relax. Relax your legs, relax your feet, relax your shoulders. Let the whole body relax. And if you physically relax, energetically you start to relax. If you physically and energetically relax, you are also mentally and intellectually letting much easier go of those fixations that bring about the fears. And with the desires, one can handle in different ways. One way is also to just be aware of the desire. If it's very strong, you can also mentally fulfill it. Imagine that that what you desire, you get it. That you mentally fulfill that desire. And see how the feelings in the body change when you imagine that fulfillment of the desire. That actually you can have the same feelings that you may have if that desire is also fulfilled on the material level. But by experiencing it like this consciously, it may be possible that after that it's fine, you can let it go, and that desire, that particular desire, is not more a problem. If desires are really, really strong, then most probably they have to sooner or later to manifest. And we will have to experience the fruits of them. Fulfillment of the desire, which is most of the time a lot of sweet and a lot of bitterness. Because when we fulfill desires on the material level, there comes always that whole rat tail along that we don't have planned for, that was not included in the desire, but still comes along. And when the material desire is fulfilled, then always so many other things somehow are attached to it that we don't really want to and still have to accept because they come with the package. But even if we go for fulfilling desires, if we feel it's just better that I fulfill this desire, it's so strong, then learn to do it consciously. instead of just somehow not even being aware what's going on all the time. In all the steps and you approach whatever is there, the object of desire, then the situation of fulfilling the desire, the immediate after feeling afterwards, if you observe what is really going on, then more and more you become aware, okay, whatever happiness I expected by fulfilling that desire, it's not really coming from the situation, but the situation lets me relax to some extent, that natural happiness that is there in everyone, which is part of the essence, that joyousness of existence has the chance to come to the surface, at least to some extent. The more we see that, the less powerful the desires. Still, as long as a body is there, some desires will spring up, but then you have the freedom to think, okay, I'm fulfilling this or no. When desire comes, you look at it, you let it go. Or maybe the desire comes, you fulfill it mentally, play around a bit with it, and you let it go. Playfully, joyously. Not being ruled neither by desire nor fear. Then we are free. Then we can play. Enjoy the show and still go through the motions of living our human life, being aware it's not as real as it appears. It's a possibility to gain experience, to get richer and richer, essentially remaining the same and yet at the same time getting richer and richer. All right. Again, I'm asking, is there anyone who would like to say something? You're welcome. Oh, we are 39 people. Somebody will say something.
Yeah, I have a question.
Hello, Leora.
Hi. I wonder about reflection in the relative dimension or relative world, and reflection in the ultimate world and the self. Like, I feel when reflection, if reflections come from the mind, it's one thing. If reflections come from the universe and somehow connect to this being, like me, and the other being, the true self, or yeah, what the divine, yeah. So what's the relationship between all this dance, all this game? Because what I've sensed this week, I've been somehow wondering about reflections. Actually, they just come and go. It's nothing. They don't mean anything, actually. It's a game. It's like mirror, many mirrors that like reflect to each other. So it keeps changing. It's like really nothing. Really.
Yes.
But then the mind all the time is trying to, yeah, we know that mind all the time is trying to make sense, right? And the self also, yeah, and the self also somehow is only the self. I mean, it can do what it can do and it can't completely let go. Up to a point maybe, but still it jumps there all the time and reminds me that there is still the practical, yeah, pains and the relationships and the whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
But also I feel that there is this kind, the realm of ultimate I mean, reflections that come from the ultimate space, the universe. Yeah.
With your reflections, you mean basically with what you are thinking. And most of the time, if you are not alert, those thoughts, they just turn around and round and round about petty little day-to-day things. We are supposed to be the intelligent species on this planet. But if you look at the mind, what kind of thoughts that are going through that, there is very little intelligence there. If you stop somebody on the road and tell them now for 5 minutes, you just tell me every thought that goes through your mind, it's sheer madness. It just goes zoom, 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 zoom. And the more of it, the denser the cloud, and the more the identification is there, and the more heavy and solid this reality seems to be. But it's not basically false to think. After all, this is also a divine gift, that capacity. In the human form, we have that capacity to form consciousness into reasonable thoughts. And that's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with it. It's an expression of the self. And we can use it in a beautiful way, creatively, to express that inner beauty. But somehow, in this world, something has happened that this is grown totally out of proportion. Instead of using it as a tool, as it is supposed to be, where it makes sense and then put it aside, it's there as a total compulsion to go on and on and on and on. But still, somebody who starts to open up will sometimes get like a divine intuition, that another kind of thoughts come in that help you to turn around. It's not that with those thoughts you are going to finally grasp reality, but those kinds of thoughts help you to put the attention in the right direction. Freeing those thoughts, they go in the opposite direction. The usual thoughts, they simply go about the me personality, me. I'm so very, very, very important. And then these other kinds of thoughts, they direct back to the source. You call it God, or you call it self, or whatever you call it, to that which is prior to the me personality. So these thoughts, they are basically the same stuff, but because they point in another direction, they are very different in their effect. And you can follow those thoughts, and the point comes where also those thoughts you let go, and there is just silence. And from there, the thoughts are not more necessary. It's the same mind that creates the prison that we are thinking we live in that prison. That same mind, if taken in the hand and put in the right direction, is liberating us from that prison. It's the same thoughts then when let loose and just turn around the usual limited experiences, identifying with that, and identifying with the me and the others, creating that gap of separation. But that same capacity to turn consciousness into thoughts can be used to turn the attention back. We need to use that same capacity because the attention is so totally caught up on that mental stuff that we have to catch the attention where it is, and with another type of thoughts, what you said, another type of reflections that come. You point back to the source. That's the value of them, but we have then already again the tendency, okay, I can somehow use those thoughts and eventually grasp reality, understand reality, get on top of it, to be in control again, and that is not possible. It cannot be understood, cannot be grasped, you are that. But the more intuitive divine thoughts, they help us to detach from all that unnecessary thinking, reflecting and doing whatever you're doing. Let go of that and bring it back to the source. And then at a certain point, even those thoughts we just have to go. And there is only silence.
This is beautiful. I spoke with a friend yesterday, and she's going through a difficult time emotionally, and she spoke a lot about fear of loneliness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to hear what you have to say about loneliness in general, like. Because I told her that loneliness, according to my understanding, doesn't always depend on if we are with people, if we are alone at home. We can be very, very lonely when we're surrounded with good people, less good people, family, whoever, and that we can still feel very lonely for various reasons. And I feel I can be at home for a long time. I can sit in retreats for many days and not feel lonely.
Right. Right.
So I wonder what you have to say about loneliness.
Loneliness is also totally connected with that identification, with that personality we think we are. And then it's always connected with self-pity. That, oh, nobody understands me, I'm feeling so alone. I'm trying to be nice, they don't understand me.
Yeah.
Wanting a positive feedback and then not getting that positive feedback, feeling very sad and disconnected because of that. Look, I remember that feeling very well. I grew up feeling out of place. And instead of just observing it, then that really was often very heavy on my shoulders. Oh, I'm feeling I'm different, I'm not belonging here. Although it was not difficult to be friendly with people, to have friends, still that feeling of loneliness was there, because somehow I felt I need expressed other people that they understand me. And always that was falling short, that I felt somehow I'm in the wrong movie here. And feeling lonely. And then that still persisted. It was not more so heavy. When I grew up, it was often very heavy, but it was always with that feeling connected with self-pity. Poor little me. Nobody understands me. If that self-pity is not there, that feeling of loneliness cannot create problems. And then I came to India first in an ashram in Bombay studying Vedanta, and we were over 60 students there, and I felt, finally, I'm coming home. I'm with like-minded people now. So we are there together. There is not the feeling of loneliness, and as the time passed, more and more, the very same thing happened again. That in the midst there, in spite of everybody being there for the same thing, still that feeling of loneliness came back. Without my really analyzing it properly and seeing that it's again that me who is not happy if I'm not getting enough positive feedback from the outside world. And then feeling sorry for myself. Then after some time, I felt this is not exactly my path, and I left, and then I came to Amma, and we were just a little group there, really like a little family. There were a handful of people hanging out with her, with that young crazy mystic, and again that feeling was, now finally I've come home. Now we are amongst like-minded, and after some time the same nagging feeling came back. Until I learned not to expect that support that I was looking for from somewhere, from outside. And then that same feeling that previous used to create pain and loneliness and self-pity start to turn in something very powerful. That, I am in a way alone. Nothing can hurt that. Nothing can touch that. It's not necessary to look for support anywhere because it's complete in itself, here, now. And then that feeling of self-pitying loneliness turns into a sense of powerful aloneness, which is absolutely not creating pain and suffering like the feeling of loneliness, but a sense of no matter what happens, this is continuously changing, but then you become like a rock in the river of events, and it just flows around you and you are not moved by that. And get your sense of fulfillment out of that. So that same feeling that created loneliness first and pain and self-pity can be turned around and you become self-confident, aware that whatever you're looking for is in yourself here now, and in a sense you are alone, but you're connected with all there is. There is that one essence, and yet it's expressing itself in so myriads of ways, and you are connected with everything. So how could you possibly feel lonely?
Thank you. This is very beautiful. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Hari. Yeah.
Hario, Hario.
Hari.
Is there anybody else who would like to talk? You're welcome.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Dial.
Hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
So you cannot hear me.
I can hear
okay.
you.
Okay, just give me.
Somehow it's breaking up.
Now?
I think your connection is not very good because also your picture is getting small. But never mind. Let's try.
So just a second. I will change the connection. Just
okay.
a second. She looks very happy, and she starts with anonymous alcoholics. Her husband was alcoholic, and she suffered a lot.
I just started to hear you now. I didn't hear the beginning. Could you start in the beginning again?
Yes. Yesterday I listened very interesting audio about woman. She find her way to God. So she started with anonymous alcoholic. Her husband was alcoholic, and she suffered many years, and she was even planning to do suicide. But then her husband started to go into groups of anonymous alcoholic.
Yes.
And he very quickly stopped drinking alcohol.
Yes.
And she started to go into group codependency. You know, there's family members of alcoholics, they have to also do the group because they somehow unconsciously helping the alcoholic to continue drinking. So, okay, she started to do similar group, but for the family members of alcoholics.
Okay.
It's also 12 steps to bring the happiness to the life, and the healing the things which these people always worry about husband, about children, about family members, just normal human mind problems. This program helping these 12 steps. And she was not very happy. Even her husband stopped drinking, and she doing this program. She just not clearly understand it for a few years, but she continues. But then something clicked in her, and she find access to God. So her new way is just asking. First of all, she tried to come here and now. She asking what is happening now with me, and she every time tried to come here and now. Even when she asked what is happening, she said, "Oh, right now no problem. Right now always it's okay." And she using this key, and then she asking help of God with anything. Anything she needs, she asked, may God help me. And even problem with her children, she rely on God. She's not worried, and she give all responsibility for her children, her family, everything. And she said, all my responsibility is to be happy, to be a good mother, to have nice feeling inside of me. So, and this looks very simple. And what do you think about this way? Just give all responsibility to God and be here and now.
Perfectly valid as an approach to get rid of all your personal petty little shortcomings. You know, whether you give the responsibility and the problems to God. Okay, there is a problem, God, may you help, and you just give it to God. Or whether you're doing inquiry and ask who is experiencing this problem. Both, actually, they are doing the same job, even if in the mind it looks quite different, and in the mood it's different, but both, they have to detach from being attached to their problem and bring it to the essence. And the one is doing it in the way of in the mood of a devotee. Okay, I'll give you over all the problems. And the other is doing it more in the mood of a jnani. Okay, I withdraw the attention and bring it to the self. Who is experiencing these problems? Then both they let go of being attached to the problem itself and bring the attention to the essence. It's perfectly valid. What matters, whether it works, is the sincerity. If somebody is sincere in the heart, whether we are doing yoga or whether devotion or jnana, then it works. And if there is no sincerity, none of them works.
Yeah, it's very interesting because this woman also was talking, she used to smoke for many years.
Yeah.
And when she get this connection to the God, she said, maybe it's not good that I'm smoking, but she get reply from the God, no problem, just continue smoking. And she said, I'm using bad words usually because I get used to it. So, and my God is also using such words. She said, it's not rules like you have to do only special prayers. But another key, she starts serving for the people. She will give a lot of time to service other people to help them. And this keep her in this mood. So it's very interesting to me.
It's very nice. Nice story. And the husband, is he okay now?
I don't know her personally. Yeah, I just listened one audio yesterday, but looks like they're happy and they have 4 children and they live in Moscow. Actually, it's possible to meet her.
Oh,
so,
it's not a friend of yours. It's not somebody you know. You heard that
no, it's
online.
just audio. Yes, audio recording. Yes, but she looks happy. Yes, and maybe I will try to meet her if will be possible, because it sounds miracles. Because she said before her life was a lot of suffering, but now God doing everything. She said no problem, and she have a very happy life right now. She said, I'm happy to serve other people to get similar connection, and very happy looking.
Yes, it's always very uplifting if you hear story of somebody who sincerely goes about it and sheds more and more of the unnecessary burden. Huh?
Yes, it is. But actually, I'm thinking also it's not very easy, because if, for example, I asking God sincerely, but inside of my unconsciousness, a lot of tension. Yeah, I ask God, just help me get rid of this tension, but it is inside of my unconsciousness, and if I will not get rid of it, it will continue. Doesn't let me be happy. Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe God is very powerful. Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah. But she was suffering a lot of time and watching herself. Maybe she working on it unconsciously, slowly, and she get access to it. I don't know.
God is very, very powerful, but also very, very patient. And it's not so that we just superficially can ask something and then it's being done. That's exactly not the point of this world, of this creation. The point is that we go through the experience and go through the path. But one way of getting rid of our attachments that make the experience small is certainly to just give everything to God. But after that, that job has to be done with sincerity.
Yes. Another thing she told, that she was a religious person for many years before, but she was asking from God, give me this, give me that, and she was saying to God what he should do.
Yeah.
But then he changed this way. He said, may your will be your will, not mine. And she just asking, just not particular help, just be in her life. So, and it's helping very wonderfully, not just asking things.
Yes, right. Not praying as a beggar, but praying for the strength and getting more and more the connection and feel more and more. The devotee that is sincere will feel more and more that divine presence all the time.
Yes, and I remember that about 30 years ago, I was with Hare Krishna movement. I feel similar feeling, a lot of support from the God and some miracles. And even I'm thinking maybe I should come back. Maybe I miss so many years with Osho, with Vipassana, because it was so simple asking God, and he was there.
Right. Actually, it's not whether you go this way or that way. that's making simple or difficult. What makes it difficult is something that you mentioned just before, that even if you would tell God to please remove certain problem, then in the mind, in the back of the mind, there would be the voice that say, but somehow I should do it myself, or I should do it differently, or maybe I don't really want to get rid of. That makes it complicated, and it's not whether you do that more as sitting in Vipassana or more as a devotee who is communicating with God. That's something that we are doing in our consciousness and subconscious, and somehow or other we have to become aware of it and learn to get rid of it. Changing the approach is not getting rid of it.
Thank you, Werner. Thank you.
Hari-Om, Hari-Om, Hari-Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome to come in.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly.
Hello, Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes,
well?
I can hear you well. Yes,
Okay.
I can see you and I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Yes, this is an interesting subject that you talked about. And today you talked about trust and fears, and this is close to me because I often contradict with these emotions and learn to release and let go. Yes, and from time to time I get some information that frighten me. Yeah, yes, and connected with my close person. And sometimes I feel myself like I'm in the park of in the amusement park with attractions. Yeah. And yes, with some fearful attractions, and I feel it's terrible, I am afraid, and then something happens and I feel some relax, and then again something again happens, and so I all the time I learn to trust and to let go, and this is a process which I go through. And this 12 steps program helps me. And today, before Satsang, I listened to one audio of a woman who is in this program, and she has problems with her son who takes alcohol, and she talked all her way and all her worries and troubles and difficulties, and now she lives her life and she feels happy in spite of that her son goes on drinking. And this program, I make sure again that this is really genius, that this learns to be happy in spite of what other people do, even if they are close people. But this program, it doesn't guarantee that they stop drinking or do something else, some dangerous things, but it really learns close people to be happy in spite of that. And it's so amazing for me. Her story, yes, it touched me so much. And I learned to detach and to accept that my close person can have her own way, really. What you said me many times, that she can choose her experience, her way. It's important, and sometimes it becomes clear to me that it's really okay, that it's necessary for her. Sometimes I really become aware of it, because it's not easy for me all the time. Sometimes it's very, very terrible. Yeah, I learn it, and I feel shaky time to time, but yes, it's really good teaching to learn to detach, and besides it, I see how important to be loving to close person, because the first reaction is I don't want to hear anything. I want to close. If it doesn't go like I want, like I expect, it's better for me don't connect, don't yeah, I want to hide. Yes, but I see that it's important to give love and to support every choice, whatever she choose. I see
You can
very...
accept. It doesn't mean that you need to find everything is wonderful what she's doing, but you can learn to accept that if she has to go that way, then she goes that way. But really supportive, you are very right. That you said that story of that person, in spite of her son going on with the same thing, she has learned to be happy. And the more you learn to be relaxed, your natural self, and natural self is always happy. The more you are capable of giving a support that is very creative, that is very, really supportive. Sometimes you may say, if you don't like certain choices, but then really also give her the awareness that after all, it's her choice and her life, and she can do what she wants. The important thing is that you are not being pulled into depression, into sadness because of it, or worries all the time. Even if it comes a moment, you become aware, oh, there got me again, and then you let it go. And somehow, from our upbringing in this society, we have then the idea that we have to worry, that without that we are irresponsible. And this is wrong, of course. Because if we really want to be helpful and supportive, we ourselves have to be out of that level of worry and depression and all these negativities in our rest in our own natural self. And the more you can that, the more you are happy, and the more those who are coming in contact with you, they will benefit of it. The closer you are related, the stronger the connection is, the more they will benefit, even if they are not quite aware how much they benefit from that. So you are going in the right direction, and the main job is not the other person, it's always ourselves.
Yes, Werner, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes,
Shall we
thank
leave
you.
it at that?
Yes, Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come in, say something? This is something we just have to learn, that it really becomes more and more, first a conviction, and then more and more an experience. If we really, sincerely want to do anything good in this world, we have to make order in our own mind. We can do so many good things to close friends, to close family members, to strangers. As long as we are full of tensions, as long as we create all the usual stuff that keeps the experience bubbled up in a very small bubble and go round and round and round in that bubble, then invariably with the good things that we are doing, we are also distributing our tensions, the negativity, and at the end it's like the two neutralize themselves. It's nothing irresponsible to give attention to oneself. It's nothing selfish. Because if we consciously bring the attention to the now, if we learn to live consciously, if we learn to see the mechanisms that create pain and learn to remove it, there we are doing the best thing we can do, not only for ourselves, but for everybody else. People who are not doing that and hearing such stuff, they have often the tendency, but this is also selfish, you just working for your own happiness. If we really want to sincerely help anyone, we first have to remove all that which creates suffering that we usually keep in our own consciousness. This is the most unselfish, unegoistic action. To have an honest, good, sincere look at ourselves. See how I'm creating my pain, my suffering, recreating it over and over and over. And of course, if I'm doing that, then I'm also radiating. And if I learn not to do that, not to radiate that pain, that tension, the destruction, then I've basically done my duty. Then whatever you are doing, wherever you are living, something beautiful flows through you. And everybody who comes in contact with you will benefit from it. And especially those who are energetically close connected, they are benefiting when we work on ourselves. Even if they are not aware of it, even if they don't like what we are doing, just because that energetic connection is there, if we sincerely peel off those layers of unnecessary tension that we have out of habit been carrying along, then we are doing them the greatest service. So it's nice that there are programs like this, like what Dayal and Nelly have been mentioning, the 12 steps program of the AA. We can go with the help of a program like this, or we can go with any technique, or just by learning to be alert and observative. Because if we have an honest look at ourselves, we start to see, hey, look, I'm doing it all the time. It's not because of the others, it's not because of the past, it's not because of this or that. They all may have had set up certain patterns, the past and the parents and the upbringings, but it's I who is holding on to and repeating the same type of actions, the same type of emotions and thoughts over and over and over, and create pain and tensions for myself and those who are around me. And the more we see it, and sincerely start to let go of it, the greater it is a help not only for ourselves, but for everybody else. Never hesitate about that. Never think it's selfish to take time for yourself, work on yourself. For everybody else benefits also. If we sincerely go deeper, become aware, there is something so natural, so easy, so beautiful in everyone. If you just learn to bring the attention back to that, then our life is playful, joyous, happy, and that strength and that happiness is radiating and helping everybody else too. Okay, let's stop for today with this note. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.